Gamasutra, and down in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, we only have one face with me today. One very cold face. Alex, what's going on?
Brian, it's so cold here. Here in the long dark.
Here in the long dark. That's right, because today we're playing the long dark. Is this a new game, Alex? Has this game been freshly pushed onto the world this
week?
What
a complicated question, right? Here in 2017, are there any new games? This game has been in early access for about 3 years. I think it debuted in 2014, but it came out this week, right? It's finally 1.0.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't actually... I haven't... I started it up and I was too scared.
It's technically 1.0.3 or something. But it also, I mean, the big reason we're checking it today is this is the game's story mode. Like, the game finally has a story mode.
Yeah.
I hope it... What's happening? I hope it's
How's
loading.
it going over there?
Like, I started the story mode and...
Very dark.
Oh, I had to hit X? Okay. Yeah, because it's a survival early access game, which is very popular on Steam. It is now on Steam and PS4. And we have procured a PS4 version of the game to examine, how's it doing? How's it going? What does the game look like once it finally leaves early access? Apparently, oh god, ah,
that seems bad.
Oh god,
you should.
Interact. Ugh.
Oh, okay,
this is hardcore.
Right. Yeah, all right.
This is hardcore.
Fill out that bar. Rip that bar out of your hand.
Oh boy, yeah. So this is going to be more. Usually, we try to do these streams and we enjoy interviewing developers while playing their games. Normally we would have the folks from Hinterland Studios with us here, but they're going to be joining us next week. In fact, that's what Alex confirmed to me just a few minutes ago. Yeah, Alex, can we confirm that?
I don't like to make promises, but yeah, we word is we might have the director of this game on in the very near future, which is why we're just getting our feet wet, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we can sort of ask some interesting questions, but not too wet because there's wind chill to be worried about, and It's cold out there.
I guess we can solve the wind chill problem by standing by these fires.
What if you just stand in the fire?
That seems like not a good way to survive.
Well, all right, so hear me out. Here's my thinking.
Yeah.
You're going to want that fire later, right?
Yeah, well, maybe. I'm going to need to make a fire later.
You're definitely out here in the snow. There's only fire from the wreckage. The only way to carry that fire with you is to just stand in it.
Yeah.
Just get on fire and then go for a walk, and that way whenever you stop, you'll just be able to start a fire where you are.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the first thing. So I jumped in survival mode last night. The first thing I was struck by is that the base game doesn't have any tutorializing, but the story mode does. Because right here, it's very studying your treatments and learn to triage. There are many ways to die in Mildurus. Medical treatments, man-made or harvested, will save your life. So it's interesting that they use the plane crash as a way to check your controls menu. Great tutorial. They use this plane crash here to both wound you and make it easier for you to sort of get your feet under you in this dark times to come. Is this fire put out in heat? Oh, I'm burned.
Yeah, so,
are you serious?
Yeah, I mean that's what we learned. So I was a Boy Scout actually.
Yeah.
For many years. I got all the merit badges. I got first aid 3 times because my mom taught it. So I'm gonna tell you right now, burns are bad. You're gonna want to go ahead and clean the wound, and then you're gonna want to apply. Oh, you got a bandage?
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. I guess that'll work. Yeah, so fire is bad. Don't stand in fire. And I think, you're talking about this very vague sense of tutorializing here. That's really key. This game's been out in EA for a couple years now, and I have at various points picked it up and sort of taken a look at what Hinterland's been putting down. And when you play in the standalone survival mode, it's very confusing what you're supposed to do, which kind of makes sense, right? If you were just stuck in a frozen forest, you probably maybe would be a little bit confused. But it's nice to have these pop-ups and stuff explaining how the various systems work, because I don't think it's very intuitive. And like many survival games, there's an extra layer of stuff going on here with the wind chill and the actual water factor. Are you
I'm in a cave.
Are you okay?
I'm in
No, you're in a cave?
Yeah. I guess I'll make a campfire in here. God, yeah, I spawned in the game last night, and just, like, there was too much wind chill to make a fire, so... I was just,
yeah,
like...
wind's no good.
Yeah.
You should at all, if possible, avoid going to the woods in winter.
Is that what you learned from Boy Scouts?
Yep.
Yeah. This is an interesting mechanic right here, because it's like, it's not just drop fire like Minecraft. There's a, like you can fail to start a fire because it'll just snuff out or whatever. That happened to me last night. So they want the player to sit here and stare at the fire and, like, put their hopes in the fact that it will come up instead of, just dropping it and continuing to move around.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Were there any supplies in the plane that went down?
Yeah, I picked up some medical kit stuff. Oh, that's interesting.
Did you get any powdered cocoa or, like, Kool-Aid packets?
Nope.
Because those are really good as fire starters. Like, when I was in Boy Scouts, we found out you could just, like, throw basically any kind of, like, powdered mix into fire. It's like, boom, you're done. You're good to go. It's way faster than doing the thing with the stick where you just twist it fast and fast. Oh. Are those human bones?
That's not human. That's definitely not human. Campfire burned out.
Are those alien bones?
No, I think they're just wolves. Okay, so I gotta get some snow.
So we were talking before the stream started. I don't know if we saw it when you started with the actual recording, but there's like a very stringent opening message.
Oh, yeah.
It's very much about, like, hey, don't do this. Hey, this is really dangerous. And hey, also, animals don't really attack people. That's a popular misnomer spread by video games, and that's wrong, and that's terrible, but we're going to spread it because it's a video game. And we were kind of wondering why the game is so up about that. You know, like, it advocates for, proper treatment of wildlife and respectful treatment of nature. And I'm betting it's because this game was funded in part by the Canada Media Fund, which is like a way you get public funding in Canada for creative projects. What do you think it was? You thought it was maybe because the team itself was, like, deeply invested in...
I've seen a lot of people get frustrated by the way animals are portrayed in games. Tog is actually talking about that disclaimer in the chat. Oh, sweet food. Yeah, I'm eating this food.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I think, like, disclaiming players, telling players, like, to think differently about these things is important. I think it's kind of a case where you sort of need mechanics. Mechanics will obviously have a longer impact on your player than eventually a source of knowledge. For now, something to burn when you are freezing. Burning books. Oh my God, it's a burning book simulator.
The only time
I admit, but I kind of, like, I'm down on the idea of at least suggesting the idea that, like, hey, please don't please don't think of wolves as these horrible things.
Yeah.
Because they're mostly just, they're not people like you, but they're creatures like you who are just trying to survive.
Video games, you gotta have something to shoot. That's key.
I don't even have a gun.
Not yet. That's part of the survival. You gotta craft a gun.
Yeah.
You gotta get 2 sticks and some wood or some, I don't know, linen. I don't know. What do you make a gun out of?
Anytime you have a fire, you can melt snow to produce water, but melting it alone is insufficient. It's better to boil it afterward.
Oh yeah, you definitely gotta. Have you ever had iodine treated water?
No.
Oh man, it's really bad. All right, so here's the thing, right? Like, when we were in Scouts, we were taught that, like, 90%, if not more, of the public water in, say, America is tainted with something called giardia, which will make you really, really sick in a really gross way. So you do not want to just drink out of streams or lakes or rivers or whatever. You always want to make sure it's potable. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that is to boil it, or if you can't boil it, you use, like, an iodine treatment tablet. And when you put that in the water, it makes it taste like... Have you ever, like, gotten a mouthful of the ocean?
Yeah.
Okay, now just, like, imagine the ocean, but it's just, like, 3 times... It's like, instead of being super salty, it's like just this... It's like, it feels like someone's just pouring, like, toilet bowl cleaner down your throat. That's kind of what it tastes like. But it's good for you. So you should get some of those tablets and put it in your water.
No, we're not burning the book.
Are you gonna die on this? Like that's an interesting bit of role playing.
I'm not gonna die.
You should just carry that book to your just trudge off into the snow and just refuse to burn it even when.
Yeah, I want to burn some snow. Do I need to make this campfire in the snow to burn?
Yeah, water? I guess so. That's not something we were. I mean, we were taught that you would want to get.
I'm trying to figure out the game mechanic to actually melt the snow and boil the water here.
In real life, you put it in a pot, right? So do you have a pot?
Food, water. Oh, melt snow. There we go.
Is that just in your hands? Maybe you have a helmet or something.
I can melt some snow.
Maybe this is secretly World War II. There's no like real time indicator, right? This could take place anytime in the 20th century, really.
As of now, yeah. Okay, so we melted the snow. I'm gonna purify all my water. Oh, I guess you can boil it. I'll just purify it. Oh.
I'm telling you, it tastes way gross if you use purifying tablets.
Reclaimed wood, sticks. Yeah, we're gonna use.
So, can you maybe explain to me how wind chill works? Because I'm still trying to figure that out.
It sucks. Like, it's just,
I know it sucks. You see how I'm dressed? I know it sucks. It's freezing.
It's just like you walk out... Yeah. Like, you just walk out there and it just constantly makes the temperature cold until, like, puts you in a bad situation. Like, it's just sort of all around you. Like, the wind is, obviously. Okay. I didn't see this last night about the whole... this whole business with melting snow and boiling water. This would have helped me out a lot during my survival session last week. Last night, key. Excuse me. So now I can drink the water. You know what's interesting is I think a lot of survival games, this is an idle thought I had while playing, a lot of survival games sort of use survival as a kind of like a reason to like craft and make things, obviously, and to like eventually you build like all these big empires.
Mm-hmm.
But the in this game, the survival is extremely like abstract. Like it doesn't feel like it's get all these elements, put them in your inventory, and then make something with those elements. It feels very. It actually, I should say, it feels less abstract. Like it feels like work with individual objects to make the things you need.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I think The Long Dark is sort of stands out among a league of survival games for how tactile it is in a way. Like you have to pick up things and sort of combine them in a way that I don't see a lot of other games doing. Like I'm not saying no one does it, but I haven't seen a game ask you to like choose how to make water potable, you know, whether you're going to boil it or use tablets. And I've never seen a game that has a wind chill meter. Which is good because wind chill sucks, but just in real life. But it's an interesting, I don't know, approach, I guess. I was reading a bit about this game's origins because it's sort of been in the periphery for years. And if you go back to like 2013 when Hinterland was getting started and getting ready and kickstarting this thing, like it was created by a developer who wanted to make a game that like had their stamp on it, which is such a that's a common, I think, impulse for people who are working in a creative industry like this. But I don't know, it's interesting that here 4 years later it still stands out. You know, it still has like a unique flavor and a unique style. I think that's relatively rare at a time when it feels like, you know, when we see like a PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds sort of taking off, it feels like within a year to 2 years we'll see a lot of those. And like the fact that The Long Dark has not had any, like, it manages to stand apart in a genre that has become crowded is really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if it's for me though. It's very, it looks very cold and dark.
It's called The Long Dark. It's also getting dark. Jeez.
Do you have any reason to believe that there will be a happy ending to the story mode?
Yeah.
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 Are you like?
I think. I mean, what did you read? Like, I didn't read The Hatch as a kid, but you read other survival stories. The point of the survival story is eventually you get home. Or you're like Liam Neeson and you punch the walls.
No, did you read? I mean, every kid my age had to read How to Build a Fire by Jack London, and that does not end happily. If I remember right, it's been like 20 plus years, but that does not end well. I feel like, and if you talk about like survival fiction, there's like a lot of pop fiction that's all about surviving and rescuing, but like there's just a lot of what you might call like literature, short stories and stuff about like the triumph of nature over man, and like the way you just so easily freeze to death out by yourself beyond the bounds of civilization.
I'm trying to find out where my journal is. Journal. There we go.
So yeah, I guess is this more of a Revenant story, or is this like a how to build a fire story? That's the question.
How to build Revenant.
I never actually saw the Revenant, but I assume he makes it home alive at the end.
Yeah. Okay. I need a couple more hours on this fire.
Because he's Leonardo DiCaprio.
Please don't let me die when I go back out. More branches.
Are you on fire?
No. Why?
The guy's talking about burning. He feels like he's burning. Is that his wound?
Maybe, yeah. Well, I did get a burn earlier when I accidentally walked into a fire from the plane crash.
Right. Accidentally,
yeah.
Forgot about that.
Don't laugh at me.
Boy, it's getting toasty in here. I don't know about it out there.
Yeah. Don't know why, guys, but Alex decided to roleplay The Long Dark when we got started today.
I just wanted to get in the spirit, I wanted to provide some insightful comatelligh.
I need you to find
a place of relevance.
40 minutes more worth of wood. 40 minutes of wood. Will anyone get me 40 minutes of wood? Please don't let me die in the tutorial. That'd be really embarrassing.
This is like the darkest, the most messed up version of Catan you could play.
I guess you know what I could do? I could get a fucking torch. What am I doing?
I need 40 minutes of wood to stay alive. I'll trade you all of my sheep.
Yeah.
So I think like this is really interesting. Like,
so that's an interesting moment right there when I fuck.
Yeah. Maybe you just shouldn't go out at night. Can you just like sleep by the fire until morning?
Well, that's the point of the quest, is to get enough firewood to stay by the fire, but I need another hour's worth of firewood.
Oh my god.
Alright, this isn't gonna work.
You have a flashlight?
Do I? Light sources. Nope, I could light some
No, don't waste your matches.
I just need some more wood. Stick.
So what I found extra interesting is going back to studio co-founder and creative director. I'm not going to say his last name because he's going to pronounce it for us next week, hopefully. But Raphael has a long career. Like lots of people worked on this game have long careers before they came on to Hinterland. But Raphael worked at a number of places, including Relic and Ubisoft Montreal. And in an interview with Gamasutra about 4 years ago, he was talking about how he was working on Space Marine, which was that. I don't know. Did you ever play Space Marine?
I did not.
Oh, Space Marine is something. It was just like this high action Warhammer 40k licensed game that was pretty interesting. But he was like he was talking to Gamasutra 4 years ago about how he was playing that game, and I think his wife came into the room and he was showing her the work they'd done. And she was basically, and I'm totally paraphrasing here, she was saying, that's great, that's cool, but everything you talk about really loving about video games, I don't see that in this game. Like I don't see anything of you in this game. And I don't know, like it's easy to look back and say like, oh, this was the one moment when my future crystallized and everything turned, but like that's how he's like, oh, at that moment, he ended up leaving Relic, he went to Ubisoft, wasn't into it. Moved his family to like this remote Vancouver island and just started this studio called Hinterland and made this game. And so I wonder what you can take away from someone's worldview and approach to game development from like sort of studying the mechanics of this game and trying to pick apart what you're supposed to find challenging about it.
I think it's interesting. I'm more into the idea that like he says he didn't see what he thought was interesting in games, so he got to go make a studio where he could do that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find I can't just wait.
Oh my god, I'm so hot. It's so warm.
Like, how do you find what you enjoy in games if it sends you to an adventure like this, to make a survival game, if it sort of didn't exist before? I guess is an interesting thing. Like I've heard some other game developers say like they wish they could make games that were about things that weren't just killing. Because, Space Marine is a very shooty game. So I guess developers have to have faith out there that somewhere out there is the game they want to make, I guess. Somewhere out, I guess that's interesting. Like, you sort of have to believe that your ears are your best survival too. But, Dang it! What if I'm deaf? Like I basically am because I turned the sound down for our stream.
You gotta listen for wolves. I hear there are wolves in this game.
I hear there, wolves, those guys. Like it's almost like you spend years as a game designer believing that you can make interactive things happen in games that are more than just shooting and killing, and you sort of keep working on games that are all about that, and while there are people around you to question that, and then so it's admirable in this case that they were able to like make that happen. Tog says they believed in the feeling, not in the elements, like don't starve.
Yeah, so going back over these interviews through the years, what stands out to me, and now I'm actually looking at it like a good reporter, when Raphael was speaking to Gamasutra, 4 years ago now, like while this game was still kickstarting.
Yeah.
He talked about like wanting to get set on this project because it was like personally important and like a way of expressing their own personal views. But he mentioned like he wanted to create a game that allows players to learn about themselves through decision making, which is like I think a very broad but interesting philosophy of game design. He says, let me see here. Games allow us to learn about ourselves through decision making. I can play the game and make decisions, and that tells me something about who I am. People need to be able to say things with their work. If you give that opportunity, there's nothing they won't do to find success. I think that's really interesting. I have a hard time thinking of a game where you don't express yourself through the actions you take. Mm-hmm. So the idea that you would make that the priority is interesting, but like not necessarily. I think that unique. I don't know. Do you feel like you are learning some things about yourselves by the choices you're making right now?
Yeah, like I said last night, but learning I apparently would go out in the snow and just like freaking go out in the dark for some reason, like I did last night. I think we're at a point in this game story right now where it doesn't need that. I do sort of think, I think the survival options sort of present you with a scenario where you can like test test what emotions you would feel when you need to react, right? Like you sort of like would I panic? Would I get like grim and determined? Would I still be in the playism of this game? To quote from our previous X-Wing guests, playism, simulationism, narrativism.
Yeah.
This guy is like pale but also like sunburned. Is that what these people are?
They got snow burns. It's that thing when the snow's so white it reflects the thing back on your face.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just like chapped, like they've had goggles and stuff around their mouth, but they've been in the wind, so their faces have been chapped.
Yeah, it's clear that our two people on screen here had some kind of a romantic connection.
Maybe they just drink a lot.
Yeah.
That's probably not it.
Flipsider 99 says these are kind of scary looking people.
Yeah, this whole game is very it's very sharp, like angular. Everyone is kind of like everything is pointy and like forbidding and like dangerous. Even the people, which I think is interesting. It's an interesting vibe. It's kind of off-putting. It's kind of scary. To be honest with you.
I think putting the story mode in a survival game like this. I mean, those longtime viewers of the Gamasutra Twitch channel know I tend to love story-driven games, so I think it helps me certainly ease in. Although the cutscene's a little tropey. Like couple gets back together.
One last job.
I
haven't heard from you in years. You could have been dead.
Oh, the facial animation's quite good. Like the stylized approach, like they're getting a lot done here with a little.
I think it's good work. It's quite impressive. I didn't expect to see this level. I figured it would just all be like comic book panel images, flashing by with maybe voiceover text.
Flipside 99. I'm guessing that these are episodic. These story parts are episodic. The survival mode, the only ending is death. That's their phrasing, which is like. I guess that's like that fits the simulationism of a given run, so it's weird that like I've been playing the Flame in the Flood too, which is an interesting game to compare here because the Flame in the Flood is a bit more, it's a bit more it's a bit more playism than simulationism, I'd say. Like, this game feels like it's trying to simulate that first-person view and that immediate struggle for survival versus Flame in the Flood with its sort of jaunty soundtrack, like, top-down, like, view. That one feels more like it's trying to turn the play of survival into something fun. Which, by the way, I really like the Flame in the Flood.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian, self-assessed Flame in the Flood fan.
I like jaunty bluegrass soundtracks. Okay.
Yeah. So so first of all, something I want to know. Maybe this is a spoiler. Is there a happy ending to Flame in the Flood if you survive?
I haven't gotten that far. I keep dying.
Yeah, I died a lot too.
Yeah.
Second of all, like it's there's definitely an interesting question to be asked here about like how real is too real, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's a new question, but since this game is now finally out of early access and is embarking on its storytelling journey, I think it's worth, bringing up again, which is like, kind of in that opening message about, hey, wolves aren't, killers of man, don't attack them, but in this video game, they attack you because we need something to attack you because it's a video game. Like, devs who are interested in exploring this question, like, who are you? Like, what do your choices say about you? And sort of situating that in a real world context, like, you have to walk that really weird question of like, how many things do we make real and how many things do we make video gamey,
Yeah.
Like, the water thing is in many ways very real and kind of maybe too real to be fun. But then that's the question of like, should a game be fun? Like, do you need to make it fun? Is it in your best interest to make it fun if you want to have a successful business? Like, there's a lot to talk about there. I don't know. Are you having fun right now?
The tutorial is a million times more fun than the survival thing I was playing last night. Sorry, Raph, if you watch this. Just because I enjoy, like, I don't mind being set off on kind of an open-ended structure, but God, I need structure. Like, these quests are helping a lot. It makes me appreciate the survival elements more because I'm getting, like, a little handheld through the first part of it.
Yeah, I think we should back it up, right? Because
right.
Fun is the wrong word. Fun is the easy word to use. It's the wrong word to use, right?
Yeah.
Like, I assume you're not smiling while you're doing this, but satisfaction, right? There's some. I hate engagement, but there's some like satisfaction to be had in progressing through this and achieving goals, like not freezing to death.
Yeah. Let's see. So let's cook some food.
Okay.
Gamey venison raw.
Ultimate game. Gamey game. I mean, gamey venison is gamey game, right?
Yeah. A couple years ago, I got laughed at a game dev drink up for describing these kind of survival games as managing extremely limited resources. And I was sort of predicting that was going to be a trend because a lot of those, DayZ was starting to pop up at that time. And I was sort of laughed at because someone was saying, like, all games are just managing limited resources. And I was like, yeah, but I felt like these games deliberately kept your levels below the threshold more often. If you get my drift. Alex, do you agree that like that's what these games do exceptionally? Do they like put these extremely low amounts of resources and you sort of have to manage them? Because you could go through these environments in a much less limited way, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be real helpful here. I'm gonna say that in this anecdote you just shared, both sides are right. Everyone wins. You're right. There's certainly a whole. Like we just mentioned, there's a whole genre of games that would maybe self-describe as survival games that are all about putting the player through onerous conditions with low supplies and asking them to come up with creative ways to survive and to face that challenge successfully. But yeah, all games, or almost all games, are about in some way managing resources, and that's what like difficulty is about. Is it makes your resources more scarce, whether because the enemies are harder or because there's less items or whatever. So everyone wins. Both sides are right. They shouldn't have laughed at you.
Both sides.
That was very nice.
Both sides.
What were you drinking?
Water, boiled water.
Oh. No, I mean like at the drink up we got laughed at.
Oh, I was having probably a whiskey ginger.
All right, that's all right. Yeah, no, that they should not have laughed at you. That's a good drink.
I don't think they were laughing for the drink, Alex.
I know, but like
All right.
just adds more credence to your claim.
Sorry for the folks at home having some loose connection issues with my PS4.
Yeah, here's behind the scenes. We're also making sure that this PS4 version of The Long Dark streams smoothly.
Oh, so it's not the PS4 version of the game's fault.
Right. We're to make sure the hookup.
Yeah.
We're making sure everything works,
Yeah.
and it seems like everything does.
Flipsider says they don't say all games are about managing resources. It's depending on how you define resources. I guess obviously like a platformer like Mario isn't managing resources.
Oh yeah, come at me, Flipsider. Mario's all about lives.
Ow. Alright,
I'm just kidding. Flipsider's is great. He's a nice person, I'm sure.
yeah, Flipsider's in our chat a lot.
Yeah. And I just always think of kickflips, which is weird. But I'm very fond of kickflips, so that's cool. No, Mario is about resources as much as anything else. Like, it's about lives. It's about making sure you don't fall down the hole when you make the jump.
Right.
Because if you die too much, you have to go back to the start. Although I think the newer Marios are a little even more forgiving. I feel like in the original Mario games, and I didn't play a lot of them, so please forgive me. I feel like if you lost all your lives, you went back to the start of the world, and that could be really painful if you were like on 8-4 or something. But your poor hand. Do you have gloves on, or is your skin just that white?
I think my skin's just that white.
Oh man.
Rose hips, Mother Nature's painkiller.
I don't know if that's true, but okay.
Sometimes Mother Nature's your pharmacist craft rose hips into a preparation that can be boiled in water to produce a tea with pain-relieving remedies. Keep your eye off other natural remedies. Like weed? I like how they drop you into the rose hips. Oh, okay.
That's,
might as well rest up. Might as well sleep out here in the snow.
It's environmental tutorializing. Did you just pass out in the snow?
I guess I dragged myself back to the cave?
Huh.
Am I still injured?
I wonder if this was, if I wasn't so busy huddling for warmth, I should look up whether this story mode was always part of the dev plan, because I think it adds a lot to the game. And
I think so. I remember the early coverage saying a story mode was coming.
Huh.
And that was like my initial instinct in my pre-Gamasutra days was, oh sweet, I'll play it when the story mode comes out.
You never had pre-Gamasutra days. Once you sign on, we own you.
I'm flash cloned to serve as the next line of Gamasutra contributing editors.
That's right.
All right.
Say goodbye to your past life.
Say goodbye to all my lives.
I was thinking of there was a story published, I guess, pretty recently in June, from Holly Green. And it involves the way games change over time. And I guess she was emailing with Raphael, and the germ of the idea that became The Long Dark was initially going to be like a mobile game. It's going to be like an iPad game. So it's kind of nuts that it has come this far and has actually released. This is a really interesting origin story, actually. I'd forgotten about this. I mean, do you remember the movie he watched that gave him the idea for this?
What movie?
It says here, years ago, he wanted to start a mobile project. So he created up with an idea called, he came up with an idea for a survival game called The Last Seed, which was inspired by an old sci-fi movie starring Yul Brynner. It doesn't say what the movie was. Maybe you'll know it. I guess the idea is like the player would have controlled a caravan of survivors who are granted a bag of viable seeds, which are now rare and valuable in this post-apocalypse. And then they kind of go on a road trip where they document their journey from coast to coast planting seeds. Yeah. And that sounds pretty dope.
I gotta say, after playing Pyre last week, and I'm still playing Pyre, road trip game design is one of my favorite things. I guess you could call that like that's what Oregon Trail is, and that's what Banner Saga is. Mm-hmm. But I can only express my love for this game. I was waiting for this game to install last night, and I was just playing some more Pyre, and I think road trips with other characters and managing those characters in a sim fashion. That's good stuff, man. Oh, sweet, more playing pieces. Yeah, so one difference to note, I'm going to jump back into the game here for a second. One difference to note between this and the survival mode is that the level design is way more structured than survival mode. Like, it procedurally generates the areas in survival mode. You see, you sort of just pick a vague map.
Yeah.
Cutscene. Here, that first little small area, and now coming out into this little area, is far more authored. Again, helpful for me. It makes me want to, this all makes me want to give the survival mode another shot, because now I, have a better idea of how to interact with all the systems. Mm-hmm. So, I know procedural is the hot thing, but authoring things helps players out, too.
Oh, man.
Awkward conversation.
Drama.
You know what's interesting about this art and animation style for low budget indies is that this is like super uh, low budget keyframe. It looks like low budget keyframe move where you just sort of like make keyframes of 2D art and move it around, but it's exceptionally intricate. Like, I can only think of a couple other game companies who've like made this kind of animation style look really good, and this is really cool for these cutscenes.
Hmm.
Oh, by the way,
sorry,
yeah,
yeah.
and just a reminder for anyone in chat, because we've been talking with Flipsider a lot. If you're playing this game, or if you're working on a game like this, tell us your thoughts. We want to hear your opinions about The Long Dark and games like The Long Dark.
Mm.
I'm working on my own. Freelance, you could say. Freelance Doctor. That just reminds me of BioWare's upcoming game, Anthem, where you play as freelancers, and every game writer I know who's a freelancer was making jokes about, hey, wow, I didn't know they made my career into a game.
I mean, it all comes around, right? It's full circle. Like, yeah, the whole idea of a freelancer is a freelance from, I assume knights, in the Middle Ages.
Era.
Yeah, maybe.
It's that was the mercenary area.
Yeah, somebody with a lance they're willing to like hire out. So it just comes full circle.
Is a freelance doctor a freelancette? A lancette that they hire out?
Oh my god. But that would make it sound like they were an anthropomorphic lancet, right?
Yeah.
So like I feel like you'd actually literally be a freelancer, but only if you were like lancing. Like, what do you lance? You lance boils, which is gross. This is going down a weird turn.
The northern lights are turning on us.
You lance. What, that doesn't. Is that how that works? I don't think.
I mean the premise for this game is that there's weird geometric activity.
Right.
Geometric, geothermal, something magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what causes the plane to go down and your survival adventure again, and to make the wolves all act weird, according to that disclaimer.
Right. Yeah. Geomagnetic activity is driving the animals nuts.
Yeah. Geomagnetic activity.
Oh, I think I've seen this. Do you have a radio or something you can talk to this nice lady and she's like stuck somewhere?
Maybe I need to find the radio.
Oh man, if this is not the game I'm thinking of, there's another game that's very similar to this.
Yeah, you might be thinking of a little game called Firewatch.
No. Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, definitely Frozen Mountains.
Frozen Watch.
Yeah.
That's the sequel to Firewatch, Frozen Watch.
Freeze Watch.
Maybe you saw it at like a PAX or something?
No, I saw a video on the internet where I see everything in my life these days, just on the internet. But it came out relatively recently, and it involved a crash plane in a snowy mountain, and you had to find somebody. And if it's not this game, then I guess that just goes to show you that there are a lot of games coming out these days, many of them with similar themes.
I feel like it's a common survival theme, and then like for 30% of those games, it's like the person at the other end of the line was never there.
Yeah, maybe it was you the whole time. Maybe it's like a Fight Club thing.
Wool socks.
I'm just fascinated going back and looking at this interview from a month or so ago. It's about this game and Overland from Finji, and he's basically talking about that concept he had about these survivors being given a bag of precious viable seeds and going on a road trip to plant trees across the country. It's very much akin to what Overland has become in terms of like design and like the idea of like a road trip. So it's like, I don't know, it's interesting to think what this game could have been.
It's just seeing how like you develop your way out of that idea, but someone develops their way into your idea.
Tog in chat suggests this game has an emphasis on challenge if you play Interloper,
which is the higher difficulty level. In like
you don't belong there.
You don't belong here. You don't belong here, Alex. No, you belong.
I don't. I'm not dressed for this weather. It's actually quite warm here.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
All right. Hypothermia risk. Oh, well, I guess I gotta make a fire somewhere.
Yeah, I'm so confused. Weren't you just in a cave with a fire? Like, how did you end up in this plane? Stuck here again. Sure. This seems like it happens a lot to you.
Well, the records of the plane was down there. Did I, like, totally furl this up? Yeah, I think I did. I just walked back to where I started. Let's go this way, I guess. Oh, that looks important. Yeah.
I decided to watch the Twitch stream for a more realistic and authentic experience. So I'm still seeing you like find bits of clothing.
Uh-oh. Something's coming up.
Yeah?
It's gonna make me sprint. They want me to sprint. Hopefully.
Wow, this game tracks calories.
Does.
We should ask them if they actually use authentic calorie counters. Like, they went to nutritionpanel.com or whatever, and we're like, hey, how many calories are within 3 ounces of venison?
Let's see.
It feels like nutrition in general is like ripe for exploitation in games. I was about to say gamification, I don't want to, but just like it's like a built-in system, numbers in, numbers out.
Yeah, well, in theory it is. There's obviously a lot of, what are those? Rabbits. Oh my god, I have to murder these rabbits.
Are they like vicious rabbits?
No, I have to kill them for food, because survival's gritty, but yeah, and you know, humans are omnivore.
I heard that about us.
Alright, okay.
All right, is your aim true? Let's see.
Let's see if my aim is true.
First person flinger.
How am I supposed to aim with my hands?
Oh. You are really pale. Also, your hand's better now. That's nice.
Yeah. Let's not get caught on the thin ice here. Something's over there is interesting.
Come on, Brian, you're gonna freeze. You gotta get some rabbits. Alright, I'm just gonna pop in a chat and say, Brian is still gonna kill those rabbits. Flipsider wants to know maybe what makes this game different from other survival games gameplay-wise. That's tricky to really definitively answer because nobody can play all the survival games that exist.
Of the ones I've played, because we played a fair few on Gamasutra, Talk says don't kill the rabbits. I'd say this one, like I said, other survival games have lately they've extrapolated their survival elements and stuff. Like they made your pack more infinite. This one is attempting a mechanically the word mechanically fidelis to real life. It has a fidelity to real life is the best way to describe it. I feel like that's the biggest difference is that this game has an express interest in. Let's get myself some fire to work with. Let's just shove this
and I think more than that, it's very explicit about the systems. So in Don't Starve, right, which is a much different take on a survival game, but it has a lot of similar elements. Fire is very important, but it doesn't really surface to you a system of like, oh, now you're freezing. You know, this is how cold, this is the temperature, this is how you're doing. Instead, if you're not around fire, you go crazy. You just go out in the dark. And that's functionally you're doing the same thing. You're collecting wood, building fires. But the focus of the mechanic is much different. Here, it's much more about, yes, you're a human body in this virtual world, and your human body will shiver and freeze to death. And that's bad.
Just trying to get rid of my hypothermia risk here. Add fuel. Let's boil some water.
Yeah, and it has calories, and it has wind chill. So it is certainly the survival game that I have ever that is the most realistic from what I've seen. Albeit it's not realistic at all on many counts. But this whole thing of boiling water versus purifying water, I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Except in real life. I lived it.
You lived it.
There actually is this thing we do in Boy Scouts. Oh, we haven't been in Boy Scouts in 20 years, but they would teach us to collect water. If you were out in the wilderness and you were dying of thirst, you would get because if you had something like a tarpaulin or a bit of plastic wrap or something that was sheer and waterproof, you would dig a hole, a small shallow hole, and you would put this thing over the hole and you'd weigh it down at the four corners, creating an inverse funnel. Then you'd poke a hole at the bottom and you would kind of put a rock or something and you would weigh it down into a bowl or a water canteen or a cup, whatever you had to hold water. And then you do that at night, and then in the morning, all the morning dew would collect, condense, and then run down into the actual cup, giving you some small vital sustenance.
I wonder if they're going to put that system in this game.
Probably not. I think it was called like a solar trap or something. That's all I remember from Boy Scouts. I remember the code, and I remember how to make a solar trap. That's basically it. Oh, and how to tie a bowl in. You know how to tie a bowl in?
Nope.
Oh, it's not. It's
my scouting experience was not as hardcore as yours.
It's not hardcore. Mostly, Boy Scouts, in my experience, they go out camping and then they play with knives or they play with fire.
Yeah.
Or they play cards. That's about it.
Yeah, I think the cards was maybe the only like shared experience here.
Yeah.
All right, I hate to do this too, Tog, but I just want to
do it. Do it. Take a life. Live.
I did it. Oh God.
Truly live. I'm still on a delay.
Oh my
here,
God!
so
wait, what?
Oh, you.
Did that rabbit just play dead?
You stoned that poor rabbit to oh. No, I think you just didn't knock it out long enough.
Okay, I'll keep throwing rocks.
You just stunned it. You gotta stun it and then run up. Oh, get it. No, you can't keep stunning. I mean, I don't know. Actually, it's a video game. Maybe you can't just keep
Maybe you should look
stunning
at Skype and not the Twitch stream, Alex.
What do you mean? I'm here. I'm in the moment. I'm in the moment as the internet is living it. All right, I'm looking at Skype now. This is something I think about a lot, right? Because, like, I'm seeing relatively live gameplay. It's slightly delayed on a Twitch stream. So is my voice coming through Twitch alongside the delayed stream? Or is it also delayed and I should be watching your stream?
No, you should be... What? Have you not been here for the last few months?
Not really. Not in spirit. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just something I think about. It's probably dumb. It's dumb, right? It's like I should be watching the Skype window at all times. Because that way my voice will sync up with what's happening.
This aiming system is annoying. Not
just like real life.
I feel like I'm a better aim in real life than I am in this game.
I wonder why it's so much easier to throw and hit something in real life as opposed to a video game. It's just because there's actual depth perception.
The depth perception, and I'm not throwing things. I'm pulling a trigger.
Right. Yeah, that's probably
That's
a big...
my current objective anyway. Here, I'm just gonna grab this stuff. This is horrible. Killing rabbits with compassion alternatives on the side.
Yeah, I think this would be a really good time to explore your options as a vegetarian.
Tog has convinced me to abandon this quest.
Yeah. How do you feel about nuts or legumes?
I have some jerky. I'll be fine. Just gonna
That's
get some
not really
rocks in case some
vegetarian.
wolves come.
Is it not turkey jerky? Is it veggie jerky?
No,
We should roleplay your recent change to vegetarianism. I feel like that'd make for an interesting story.
We're gonna what? I'm not a what?
No, in the game we're roleplaying.
I'm a vegetarian because it's too freaking hard to kill anything.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Tog says there's something else near. I think Tog is trying to get me to explore, so I'll do just that. Alright, I came in through that way, I think. Yeah. Let's just grab some more sticks anyway, just in case.
Maybe you should become a vegetarian.
Can I harvest this grass? No. Can't harvest this grass.
The wrong kind of grass. What if you became like one of those monks that like gets the broom and just like constantly brushes the path in front of them to avoid stepping on any bugs?
I'm just gonna go up. There's some cliffs I can climb up there. I'm heading that way.
All right. The chat is suggesting.
Tog, I don't know. I mean, this is my first time through the story mode, so if I miss something, it's organic gameplay. So I will beg your forgiveness as I attempt to authentically interact with this game while chatting with 10 people.
You don't have to chat to 10 people. You just gotta chat with me. Tell me about how you're feeling.
Yeah, well, apparently the you doesn't freaking know how the stream works, so I have to talk to the 10 people.
What are you talking about? I'm all about this. I'm all about your snowy... Your guy is like the same color as the snow. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Do you wonder if that's just like a stylistic choice, or if like that represents that you're actually freezing to death? Oh, hey.
Yeah, here we go. We're getting all this meat.
Wow, 2 units of gut. You can make sausages.
I'll make some snousages.
Well, I thought you were a vegetarian.
No, you decided that.
Oh.
I guess now I have to get back to my... Or either I have to build a new fire up here, or go back to my fire down there. Let's see if I can go back to the fire.
You seem to be very cold and very hungry.
I can actually just build a fire here, probably.
Well, there you go.
Birch bark, tinder...
It actually seems like a really bad idea, because if you build a little lean-to like that on top of some snow, won't the snow just melt out from underneath it and like totally extinguish your fire?
I guess the snow is magical, doesn't melt snow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, see, this is what happens. That's
geomagnetical.
Like when a fire doesn't start. Invalid location, place an object.
So Flipsider jumps into chat to be like, hey, it's not my kind of game. Thanks for showing it, but I'm not really into this. And I respect that. But I want to push back and say, like, jump back to 4 years ago when Ruff was talking about wanting to make a game that sort of pushes players to make decisions that then elucidate who they are really. And I want to say, like, if you don't like this game, maybe play it anyway. Maybe just see, like, who am I? Why do I hate survival games so much?
He does describe it as boring. That's not, I mean, I will not echo that sentiment for now. I'm quite...
Yeah, I think there's something very primally satisfying about not shivering to death. You know, it like ties into the same impulse that makes games about puzzles or games about building interesting. Is like, this is just like an innate human desire, I think, that is given room to exercise itself in this game. I still want to know how you're melting this snow.
I guess I'm just picking it up and...
Oh, I guess you have a can. There's a little can there.
Yeah, well, that's just the food. Fresh venison. Yeah, I should save my, well, this'll... 880, 725. Let's see what this does.
You've got 8 minutes left.
8 minutes left to stream.
8 minutes to survive. Can you make it? We still haven't seen a wolf.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know, that's realistic.
Right.
Like, you wouldn't see a wolf. I guess I'll boil some more water so I can...
You'd never see them, but they see you.
Sleep? I'm doing okay. How much water do I have? I have a lot of water. Okay, we can keep... We solved the hypothermia problem, so... Let's keep going. It's gonna be dark soon, though, which is...
Yeah, what about your wife? Your ex-wife?
I'm looking for her. I climbed up these things, didn't I?
Your once-and-future wife.
I'm looking for my once-and-future wife. I really hope. I guess when it gets dark, that'll be a good time to cut off the stream. The dark thing is only a little annoying because, like, the dark will last for, like, whatever the equivalent of in-game 8 hours or whatever it is, just like it does, you know, in real life. Like, they simulate darkness, which means you have to, like, get yourself into a position where you can wait, just tell the game to wait for 8 hours. Or you can do stuff in the dark, like walk around and try to find, you know, things to build that fire that you need to survive for 8 hours.
Why is that annoying?
Because it feels like there's just a long portion of... It feels like they're like, hey, here's this window of time where instead of just, like, adapting to the gameplay, you have to tell the game to wait for sunrise. Cave? Yeah, let's go into a cave. Probably should have lit a torch before I went into the cave, but...
It reminds me of being younger, having more time, and, like, thinking that the coolest thing in the world for a video game to do would be to recreate real life.
Yeah.
Like, to have a massively... Like, that was the promise of MMO games for a long time when I was younger. It's like, oh, you could be a wizard, but you could just have a house and have friends and have a job and go do things. It was incredibly boring. Like, you could go to your wizard job and hang out with your wizard buddies at the wizard pub and then go home to your wizard house or your wizard tower. And that was so appealing. And now that developers are actually have the tools and the freedom and the wherewithal to, like, get into what it would be like to make games about just surviving, just existing, I don't know, it doesn't have the same appeal. You're watching this fire for a long time.
Yeah, I'm making this fire, man.
Are you praying?
No. My character's an atheist.
So I did this once. I was camping in Death Valley, and I was getting the camping merit badge, which requires an impressionable young teen to like build their own shelter and build their own fire and stuff for like 3 days or whatever. And I was building a fire using the like twisty method, like the bow that you yeah. And I just remember it was dark, and like I knew I could go to the counselors if I was like really in trouble, so it wasn't like a survival situation. But I was just like, everyone was laughing at me. Everyone else wasn't getting their camping merit badge that trip, so they could just use a fire starter on the campfire or whatever. And I was like off in the fucking distance, like trying to get this little thing to light and blowing on it, and the wisp of smoke was coming up and the sun was going down, and I was like, light, god damn it, light. It took like half an hour. I was praying for at least the last 15 minutes. But I was super psyched when it actually worked.
All right.
This is kind of like that. This video game's like that. Whoa, is that a dead person?
Yeah, I just looted that dead person while you were ranting about camping in Dead Body.
What?
Camping in Death Valley.
Is this like Everest? Is this like people fall and then they just stay where they fall, and then their boots are just markers?
I guess.
You should like help that person.
Again, atheist, not super concerned with burying the frozen body.
Well, you should give up. You don't want the wolves to get at it.
There's no the wolves aren't going to
do
get you
you?
because we're in a cave.
Is that a bait? Are you gonna like try and like trap some wolves later?
Maybe, I don't know.
You gotta have a plan to survive, right?
Okay.
You're stuck out here. Oh, that's good. That wasn't your wife, was it?
No, it wasn't my wife.
Phew.
I put out my torch for some reason because I'm not very smart.
Yeah, it's kind of silly that you have to put away your flaming torch to start a fire from scratch.
I don't. I didn't. I just accidentally did.
Well, couldn't you just put your torch in the fire?
That's what I was trying to do.
Oh, so there is a button to do that. You just didn't do it.
No, I don't think there is. I think you have to start a fire. You have to do this.
Oh, that's silly.
So I'm just wasting matches.
That's like one of the best ways to start a fire is to already have a fire.
Yeah.
That was my tip at the beginning. Just get on fire and then you're good.
Why did I ever doubt you, Alex?
Well, this isn't like real life. There's the geomagnetic thing going on.
Yeah, here, let's...
Your fire doesn't work the same way.
Just give myself a little time. Peaches. Lost in the storm.
You should read the label on the peaches. Is there any good jokes?
Probably not.
I find there's a lot of really good jokes hidden in
There's a church up ahead. Oh, no.
object art, assets, 3D models.
Everflame. So
That's not a good joke. That's just...
Is there a cave in here? Is there anywhere else to go in this cave? Alright.
What about your wife?
Thrilling as this is. I'm looking for my wife. Okay, this clearly must be the way to find my wife.
You would not... Liam Neeson will be way better at this than you are. I'm just throwing that out there.
Liam Neeson's better than me at everything.
Yeah. What's that movie? You were talking about The Gray. Is that the one you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, that's the survival movie where
he like punches a wolf.
He actually never punches a wolf on
what?
screen.
It was definitely in the trailer. He definitely
they implied that movie was way more action heavy than it was, and instead it was like a slow burn about like masculinity and surviving.
This is why I don't watch movies.
Trailers lie. Alex doesn't watch movies.
The history of Western arts and culture is a slow burn about masculinity. Like that's just all it is. Like, well, I don't need a fucking movie to do that.
You got your Hemingway.
Yeah. Yep. Got my Hemingway. Got my Steinbeck.
Alright, I think I'm on my way out. Either I'm on my way out or I'm backtracking the way I came.
Who else?
Well,
Jack
I
London?
backtracked a little.
I'm glad we came back around to Jack London. Also a slow burn.
Yeah.
A life spent slowly burning over masculinity.
A life spent slowly burning after... A life spent slowly burning after masculinity. I should call that the name of the stream.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk mess about Jack London. Just that, like, you know, maybe like that dude was out here in the bay, like before any of us were born, like fighting off oyster pirates. So, you know, I guess respect that.
Yeah. There's something up ahead. Looks like some kind of...
You don't want to stop and talk about oyster pirates?
I want to leave the cave. That's what I'm going to do. We made it through the dark, Alex.
You've done it. You've done what Plato dreamed of. You've left the cave. Finally.
All right.
You can see life as
I want to see what's on the other side, and then I'll wrap it up for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sad we didn't find your wife.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I won't accept this.
Yeah,
Please don't tell
you're
me.
working on it, if you know what I mean.
Astrid, where did you go? My wife.
I think this is clutch. I think after watching this game evolve for 3 years, I think it's exciting to see any game come out of early access. I know it can be tricky to make the transition from EA to full release, and I think it's neat that they have put in this kind of like episodic story structure with those cutscenes. I didn't expect those, and that makes it more enticing and more approachable, I think. We'll see if that bears out.
How do I avoid the wolf that's right in the path? I guess we go on these rocks.
Is there a wolf? Did you finally see a wolf?
Yeah, it's over there.
Oh, it's in the dark. Do its eyes shimmer
Its eyes aren't. I think it's eating something.
in the blackness? Oh, that's all right.
All right.
Ever tell you I saw a bear once?
I found a carcass that had been eaten by a bear once.
Oh, man. All right. So that one time I was building my own shelter for the merit badge, I didn't really. I was like, I can take care of this. It's Death Valley. Like, it can't be that bad at night, which is dumb because it's a desert. But I built a shelter by taking a tarp and a cord, and I tied the cord to a stake in the ground and ran it to a nearby small tree. Yeah. And then I draped the tarp over the thing. So I had like this like little lean-to that I just slept in for 2 nights and suffered. And animals would come at my feet at night. So I would wake up and there would be like foxes and stuff like sniffing around at my feet looking for food. And it was freaky. Like, it was that idea you wake up and all of a sudden there's like a strange face staring at you, sitting over you, and you're just too scared to cry out. You're just like very slowly.
Oh, my torch burned out. All right, this is a good time to drop things off.
My flashlight before it gets to my throat. That's real life survival.
You've been watching the Gamasutra Twitch channel. Thank you all for joining us. I'm so cold. I'm warming up again. Should I just build a fire?
Throw that torch. Give up. Just throw it.
No, yeah. Thank you for joining us all today on the Gamasutra Twitch channel. I have been contributing editor Brian Francis, and this has been Gamasutra editor Alex Poirot. We would appreciate it if y'all would click the follow button. We normally do a lot more developer interviews on here, but sometimes we like to just kick back and stream a game. It's a nice way to spend a Friday afternoon. A summer Friday afternoon, wouldn't you say, Alex?
Yeah, feverish summer Friday.
Feverish summer Friday, yeah. We're both a little under the weather here. Oh, serious, yeah. Gonna get this fire going. Yeah, so the game is The Long Dark. It just left early access this week. We do say we're going to giving it out just to see how these folks who were kind of in the survival game, early access game at the beginning, how they're handling their 1.0. The story mode is definitely a cool tutorialization of this game that they have. Yeah, Alex, anything you want to
add? Stay tuned. This was a low down tempo stream to get ourselves ready for an up tempo week. So
yeah, we're gonna have a lot of interviews next week, and we're gonna have even this game's developers on next Friday. So come back.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Stay warm out there.